Good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday I spoke about um, the good side of healthcare, right? I shared about the brighter side of healthcare here in Jamaica. I spoke about how I paid 5,000 Jamaican dollars um, to see a doctor here, and compared to the 250 I paid in Connecticut when I went up. I mean, even before I came down, while I was waiting to change over for healthcare, it was pretty pricey. And considering that when I went, it wasn't for a full physical, it was basically to do my blood pressure and just talk with the doctor. The only medication I use is high blood pressure, and they don't provide that. It was sent into the pharmacy, and I went and picked it up. So compared to that, down here 5,000 is chump change. But today, let me talk about the the other side of things, right? When you talk, because while healthcare in Jamaica can be affordable, it also comes with some challenges, as we all know. A lot of people, they really are disappointed with the healthcare system here in Jamaica. As we understand, it's a third world developing nation, and so many public hospitals are underfunded. We know that. They're overcrowded. We know that, and stretched beyond capacity. Again, we also have to wait hours in an emergency room setting, even if you're in pain. You know how it is, and sometimes basic supplies are just not there. I remembered before population got so high, we went to Savlamar Hospital, and I mean, the nurse was there. My aunt, we had to wait a long time in the night there to be seen, but she wasn't wounded. It was just her bladder. She was struggling with the bladder, and she was in a lot of pain, and we went, and she had to wait. Then the nurse was there, and what she was doing, she had the white tape, and she was tearing pieces and sticking it onto the table, preparing for an emergency. If somebody comes in with a cut or something and needed to be taped up. And so you just look and, you see it. When we did the soup kitchen, and we had one of the persons who was benefiting from the soup kitchen, and she was mentally ill, and when my manager was able to get her help to get to the hospital to get some care, it was really something else. They just chained her onto the bench outside there. They sat there all night. Just there, what they did, they gave her an injection, and that made her get some sleep. But my manager, who at that time of night couldn't get a vehicle to go home, then she had to sleep right there as well, because the lady was just there. They didn't give her a bed. She didn't have anything. And this was at Cornwall Regional Hospital at the time, a few months ago. So I'm not saying that in America you don't wait long waits in the hospitals, depending on where you are. Where I lived in Connecticut, I cannot, and I'm not gonna, I cannot give them that name. The emergency room that was in my area, the nearest one to me, you didn't have long waits there. You get there, and within a few, I'm telling you, within like 15 minutes, somebody is there. You never go there and it's overcrowded. And so we were blessed for that. Whether night or day, you usually get through in a quick time. Next thing, we have the skilled workers who are leaving, right? Our best doctors and nurses, they leave Jamaica. They don't stay because they want better paying jobs abroad to pay back their student loans, to maintain their families. So that brain drain leaves a big gap. And those gaps aren't always filled with people who are properly trained. Then who is treating you when the best people leave? Who is doing the treating when the best people leave? Even those who are still available, they're overworked, they are tired, and so yes, you're going to have undertrained people coming in to fill some of the gaps, and you have to wonder if you're going to get good care if somebody doesn't know what they're really doing. And then we have the rise in these foreign doctors. That's one of the things that really I think about often. You know, a lot of Indian doctors, a lot of African doctors, a lot of these other doctors who are just coming in. And so more and more of the foreign doctors are coming to Jamaica. Some are highly skilled, don't get me wrong, but others, not so much. Many, they set up shop near retirees or returning residents, offering affordable care. But the big question is, are they qualified? That's one of the things I want you guys to think about. It's not only the infrastructure, but also are these people who are pitching tents, especially in the returning residents sections, are they qualified? Do you know who your doctor really is? Do we really know who these doctors are? You know, we know that even in America, they push, and America has ways to vet these doctors and all of that. But in Jamaica, you know, these people are coming in and they're buying certificates, they're buying things to say they're certified people, but are they truly certified? The Medical Council of Jamaica is a body that licenses doctors, but try verified credentials online, it's not easy. So Jamaica doesn't have that yet, like in place. I don't know. Maybe it is, but I don't know. To really search for these doctors' names and stuff and to kind of connect them with their real credentials. So if they say they went to the University of Buffalo and they did their medical courses there and they're certified there in America, is Jamaica equipped to when they put the information in so we can access it and then we can reach out to see if they really graduated from Buffalo? You know, how much do they have in place? It says that the Medical Council of Jamaica, they license doctor, but verifying the credentials online, it's not easy. And because these people know that, then that's why they'll come into these third world countries and pitch their tents and get away with so much. They get away with so much. You know, some clinics operate with a very little oversight. If something goes wrong, do you know where to report it? I had somebody who spoke to me in person, spoke to me one-on-one, not a phone call, not something I've read. This was somebody's experience. Went to a doctor, she claimed she specialized in whatever, and sent him out. He's struggling with his back. She sent him out to get an MRI done. The MRI came back. Maybe she didn't know how to read it correctly, but she told him he had stones. And he had to do surgery to get rid of it. When he did the surgery, right, and she came back on the ward to visit him, he asked her, where are the stones? She said, oh, there was no stone. There were no stones. So I'm asking him, are you pursuing legal whatever for that malpractice? Because that's malpractice. You went into somebody, you saw something, you didn't follow up for anything, you didn't look to see, is he passing his urine, is he, whatever other things that could have been done to see if this was really connected to gallstones or whatever. But you cut into this man's back, did the surgery, come out with nothing. And then it's just like nothing happened. So if something goes wrong, do you know where to report it? So when we have low regulations, when we don't have people to really regulation and holding people accountable, you know what happens? We have high risk of people getting damaged and things happening and no consequences. And if there's an emergency, many don't have the system in place to handle it. Yesterday I was seeing something with, I think in Hanover, where they crashed another ambulance there, and they're saying they have two ambulances down in that place. Two. So if there are 3 emergencies, I wonder who they would service first. And sometimes you see things happening and people have to use their private cars. Accidents happen. And in my heart I'm saying, oh my God, you know that sometimes things happen and maybe the way how people have to take people out of the cars and pick them up and how they position them in the vehicles. Sometimes those are the situations that create more damages because people are just trying to help at the moment to get them to medical care. And so unlike an emergency vehicle would have put them in the right position, protect their heads and necks from back injuries and all of that. But when there's nothing and people just want to help, because that's Jamaicans on a whole. They just want to always help. They're not going to see you there and they just go their way or wait for emergency vehicles that might not even show up because the area in which you live might not even have an ambulance. And so, time after time, sometimes people might have, their lives might have been saved or they might have come out with less damage, but because people are just ready to help so they don't stay and bleed to death or stay there and you know, they try to grab them and put them in a moving vehicle in haste, without precautions, just to get them to somewhere to get some support. So again, there are emergencies. Some of these, they have no systems in place to even handle the emergencies. So we have to be informed and we have to be vigilant. Care is cheaper because, as I said, $5,000 my doctor charged, $5,000 for the visit. But cheaper doesn't mean it's safer. And a white coat doesn't always mean that they're qualified. Anybody can pick up a white coat. There was a situation in Spanish Town with a guy that they captured that was practicing as a doctor who had no credentials whatsoever. He just put on the white coat and they caught him in the hospital practicing. They caught him at accident sites giving orders there as a medical doctor. And come to find out, he was a fake. He was a fake from Africa who came to Jamaica pretended to be a doctor. How much money did he collect pretending to be such? What are the consequences if these people are caught practicing into fields where they can maim people, they can hurt people badly? What are the consequences now? So care might be cheaper because people pitch their tents near where people come are returning, so they figure they have money and will be happy to pay for care, and they're not going to make it too expensive because they don't want to draw attention to themselves, so they'll make it reasonable so people will come and they would build up their little kitty. But cheaper doesn't mean safer, and a white coat doesn't always mean qualified. So we need transparency, we need education, and we need to protect ourselves. When I talk about education, people used to think I mean you need to have degrees. Degrees doesn't mean you're educated. You might be educated in a field, but understand that common sense is education as well. Understanding what you need to know. That's what educated means. To know about something. Your health is not something to gamble with. Be informed, be vigilant, and just be well. So this is your girl, Miss Bev. Share your comments, share your experiences. I appreciate this morning when I was reading some comments from somebody from Canada, somebody from England, who shared, because I did say I didn't have experiences in those places. I lived in Canada, but this was in the 70s. And so there isn't much. I never used a medical care in Canada. And so I was thankful that they shared their experiences in their area, in their neck of the woods, that things go on in their space as well. So a lot of focus is on Jamaica, a lot of focus is on Jamaica. But as we said, criminal activities are everywhere. Wherever the drugs is more prevalent, it alters our mental capacities and allows us to do things that maybe if we were in our right minds, we wouldn't have done it. And so it's not only Jamaica, but it's all over the world. And so we just have to understand how it works. Maybe we can't even understand it, but we just have to go forth and ask God for guidance and just be vigilant. And as we said, it's everywhere. I remembered in America when we had a doctor in Texas who was practicing. And what he would do is that he was just, people go in and he's saying that they need heart surgery. And it was because he was doing so many open heart surgeries why he got caught, because it drew attention to him. And what it was is that an open heart surgery is a lot of money. It's like people when they're pregnant and they go into the hospital. When I had my twins, they cut me for that. I had to do a C-section. So for a while, C-section was it. Everybody, the gynecologists, these people, that's what they were making their big monies off. For you to push out the baby, it's just a little bit. But for them to cut in, big bucks. So that's what they were doing. Everything they're recommending surgery. Right? Everything they were recommending surgery. They want to give you a chance to push the baby out. When I got pregnant with my son, I was tired of hearing that my care person, oh, you have to do surgery, I said, no, I'm pushing this one out. You have to do surgery, no, I'm pushing this one out. And then in the long run, when I went in to have Christopher, it was, when I went in to have my son, it was, no, we can't give you anything, because just in case you can't have him, then we'll have to go to surgery. And I had my son. They didn't give me anything to numb the pain. I had to bear that pain that it's like you can't even explain the magnitude of that pain. But I had my son without surgery. So people who are getting C-section and they tell you every time you need to have a baby you have to do C-section. It's not true. It's just because it costs so much more for everything. The doctor has to get more. The person who is gonna do the surgery, all that money, the anesthesia, the time to stay in the hospital, it's a lot more. And then you go home, and then it takes so much longer for you to be whole again. And so every time you look, yes, doctors go through. I remembered my doctor, he used to say, first of all, when I would go, and all of us went, he was our family doctor, and all of us were against medication. So when we'd go and he says, I would give you a prescription for sense, and I said, doctor, what's the alternative, you know? And he says, boy, Miss Beverly, if I was to depend on you and your family to eat, we would never eat. Because no matter what he tries to give us, we kind of ask. Because it is interesting too that you go to the doctor, you have high blood pressure, they see that you're borderline, you're getting there. All right, you're eating regular food and the salts and the that, and you're getting weight, you have some weight on your body. But they never say, let me send you to a nutritionist. They never send you to any alternative. The first thing is medication. And I used to question it. Everybody wants you to do, these things, these tests, because why? Their friend is in this field over here. If you send me the referrals, then you get a kickback. And this is what has been in the healthcare field for a long time. It's about the kickbacks. You write this prescription, you give this medication, then you'll get a percentage back. So even you might have something that has been working, all of a sudden you're going to the doctor and I need you to try something different. I need you to try this instead. Why? This one is working perfectly. I have no thing. I can teach, I can take it and I still teach because it's not making me go to the bathroom too much. No, but you need this one. And why is that? Because it's a new company, and if they do the prescriptions for this new company, then they're going to be getting their kickbacks. And so I say it's a gamble, and so we have to just do what we have to do, but make sure that we try to stay informed, and so we can, find ways to heal our broken bodies, and so that we can be okay. Again, remember, mental health is the greatest, because with mental health it will allow you to be strong enough to take care of the physical health. And so we'll continue onward and upwards. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I see you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the comments. I like when we stay positive, and if you have something positively to contribute, then contribute it. We don't need to be disrespectful. We don't need to tear down. If you had a different experience, share your experience so that others can learn from it. I too might be able to learn from it, because I might have a different situation. All of our experiences are different. It depends on where we are and how we live and where we go and who we know. So our experiences are going to be different. If all our experiences were the same, how boring it would be. But in sharing our experiences, we really don't need to put anyone down. We really don't need to call anyone stupid. We really don't need to compare, to say, I did this and it never happened. Where you are, it might never happen like that. But depending on where you go, it might be different. You'll be shocked to know that on this little island, there's so many different norms. We have fruits in different areas that people would call a different name. It doesn't mean that my fruit might be custard apple and you go somewhere further down in the same St. Elizabeth and they call it a sugar apple, or they call it something different, because it all depends on who lived there before we came aboard and where they came from and the experience they've had with the fruits or the foods around them. And so we don't need to make it a big deal if somebody doesn't know something and they're living in Jamaica. Our experiences are going to be different from Portland to St. Elizabeth. It's going to be different. It doesn't mean that anyone is stupid. It doesn't mean that anyone... Let us just learn to appreciate and respect people regardless. As Desiderata said, Everybody has their story, even the dull and the ignorant. We got to listen to them as well, because they too have their stories, right? So let's not do put downs. Let's learn to lift up. Let's learn to build. And we continue onward and upwards always. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And welcome to the MBP family. And until the next video, this is your girl, Miss Bev, saying goodbye.